Where are we going, guys?
That maple syrup place.
The maple syrup place, which means we're in the Poconos. There is a place where you can go to learn how they made maple syrup back in the day, and they actually demonstrate. Last time we went, they had a cauldron and everything else. They had all the trees tapped. It was pretty cool, right? Didn't they have? He had a cauldron.
Dutch Hill Preserves.
Are you guys just coming or going or what? Where did you?
We just kind of
came in a few minutes ago.
Okay, do you want to go in the woods? You have boots?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, why don't you give us 5-10 minutes maybe?
So we're heading out into the sugar bush. That's where the trees are. And for us, that's on the other side of our pond. So we have a vacuum system the vacuum system sits up in the top of the sugar house, and there's a pump house down here which collects the sap that comes in from our property, and then we'll pump it up to the sugar house when it's full. It is pretty, isn't it?
Gorgeous.
Oh, geez, it's so pretty. Did you? We just actually, when I finished up the last tour, I was waiting by the pump house talking, waiting for last person to come through, and a bald eagle swooped right down over the pond. Wow. Yeah, he went up that way, so maybe he's still around. I mean, we have quite a few of them. So our property sits on about 20 acres right here. So it took us a couple summers to put in miles of tubing to give us. We have about 1,000 taps, maybe about 1,100 now here.
Wow.
And that's here. We have 2 other properties we lease, and they give us an additional 2,000 taps. It took us, honestly, probably 3 summers to get the majority of it in. We still add to it, like we just put in probably about 100 more taps in the upper corner by the field because the trees are mature enough. And that is maple trees. There's tapping guidelines. Like I can't just come out here and start drilling and hammering and la la la. I have to make sure, one, the tree is big enough in diameter for me to tap. So the taps will go in. They go in, well, this year was mid-January. Usually it's the end of January. We come out here and every tap is new. We like to use fresh, new taps. We'll change out these drops. These are called drop lines. This is your side line, and then the bigger, fatter tube is the main line. These, 1/3 of every property will get changed out each year so that these drops are never more than 3 years old. The reason being, you really want a clean, sterile unit. The cleaner this process is, the more sap you're actually gonna get from the tree. So, and when we tap the tree, we only go in not very far at all. And then that only goes like to the soft wood of the tree. It's like right underneath the bark, and that is very, very like cellulose. Like it has a lot of capillaries, like your fingers, you know? So the sap is actually only from about this much around the tap, drawing from there. And it'll give us, you know, probably about 100 gallons of sap per tap. Wow. So, you know, as long as you're doing a good job. I mean, you can see along this creek bed here, a lot of these maples we're losing. And I think a lot of that is this flows, it flows more in the spring, but the salt brine from the roads, it hurts the tree in a way that it just makes them sick and susceptible to fungus, and then bam, there goes your maple trees.
Like
a healthy tree, within by the 4th year, the bark will have completely grown over these tap holes. And some of these have, because this tree has been tapped, well, gosh, for 23 years. That's how long we've been doing it. So, but if you look, you can see other holes and the healing process around it. So you honestly won't even see the tap hole, you know, by the 4th year, and you could be tapping in that. But at that point, the tree has grown in thickness enough too that you're getting a sap from it. What we do with our syrup is we'll put it in barrels and, you know, draw on it when we need to bottle. So that we have throughout the year. And then we'll, you know, look, maintenance out here is a big thing, especially before the season. Usually around the holidays, we'll head out here because we get a lot of like wind damage, storm damage, animal damage. You know, there's always a lot of work that needs to be done to get yourself up and running. It comes from the sugar house down here to this releaser. And if you peek in the lines, you can actually see the sap is flowing in. And for us, you know, the sap above freezing, it will flow. The best days are 40 and sunny, but we'll take this. This is fine. This is a nice sap flow day. We've invested in reverse osmosis because then we are not boiling thousands of gallons of sap to get just a little bit, because we have to cook all that water out. So the reverse osmosis will take the sap from 1% sugar or whatever and spin it to whatever we want, honestly. So you get it in there, process it through the reverse osmosis, and cook it as quickly as possible. So for us, I mean, honestly, if sap will be made into syrup within 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
That's how quickly
That's
we'll
awesome.
work with it. Because also, if you let it sit around, you're also changing the grade of the syrup. Native Americans, or indigenous people, were believed to create maple syrup. So the story goes, an Indian chief put his hatchet into a tree just to keep it there. There was a bucket, like one of the women had one of their cooking vessels underneath. She was like, score, I don't have to go to the creek for water because they didn't have plumbing. So she put the pot on the cooking fire, and as it evaporated, which you'll see here, it becomes a little darker in color. The air filled with a lovely maple flavor, and that was how they discovered syrup. Flowing down there now will go up into this tanks up in here, and you can see we have all this PVC. We can direct where we want it to go. When our other two properties, we'll truck it in and pump it into there, and then from there, this is the reverse osmosis room that I was telling you guys about. Now that has, you guys can walk in there. Watch your step. We have to keep heat on in there because it's a little temperamental. You can't freeze the membranes or you're out of work. So that membrane in there will take our sap and concentrate the sugar and send out the water. So once that sap gets to 12% sugar, we'll send it up there into the head tanks. And from there, it will head into the back part of this. This is called an evaporator. And this back section is the preheater pan. So the cold sap will come into here and it's heating it up as well as concentrating it. Because if you see this sight glass here, that's how much that sap, that's how much it's concentrated already. It's already getting that darker color. Cool. So then as on that side there's a valve and a float, as the level dictates, it'll bring more sap into here. And then as the sap filters in here, it'll weave throughout here. There's little chambers. As it becomes more dense, it comes to this side. And when it's almost syrup here, but when it gets to 7 degrees above the boiling of water, we'll open that and you'll see that's the syrup that comes off into these pans and then, or into these pots, and then we'll just warm them up again and send them through a filter press, and that will filter out anything that you don't want in there. And then we'll put it into either the water canner over there or into barrels or into oak barrels, whatever we decide we want to do with it at the time. A lot of it is actually, as we got different grades here, we've put into containers for you guys for the open house. But these are examples, like you can see the years we've written. These aren't all of our sugaring seasons, but we do start doing them from start to finish. So you can see, one, how we've grown with production, but also the changing of the grades of syrup. So this was the beginning of this year, actually, which was a very light, mild syrup. And then as it started to get a little warmer, the syrup kind of got a little darker. And that's just warmer temperatures, less sugar in the sap. But it gives you a different flavor as you go along, too. It's all your personal preference. Some legislatures at that time thought, let's abolish the slave trade by not using cane sugar, let's do maple sugar. Unfortunately, it never caught on because it was never, like, maple sugar looks like light brown sugar, even like the lightest grade you use. It always has like a dirty sand look, so it wasn't perfect for tea, I don't think. But yeah, so that never really took root. Does anyone want to try some syrup? Little spoonful?
Does anyone want to try syrup?
What did everybody think?
I think it was very good.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Good job.
I loaded up on
That place is so cool.
syrup in my mouth.
So cool.
And what did they say? They said they had a thing there open all year round. You can just go
Yeah.
in. Where we were filming, where they're boiling stuff, you can just
It's
go
like
in and
an
grab
honor
stuff.
system if they're not around, they said.
Yeah, there's like a
That's
cash box
so
and a
cool.
Venmo.